Living in a rural community is a very nice place to be, but certainly when you have a problem, it impacts on you much harder. For example, recently my wife was ill. She had to go to the hospital daily. This meant a very difficult journey into a hospital and back every day. And as she was ill, it sort of wiped her out at the end of the day. And it was fine. I'm retired, so therefore I could actually look after her and I could do the cooking and so on. But that transport was a big problem. Also, I think with local services and is the local doctors' surgeries as well. These are becoming less and less regular, more and more into the larger villages and towns, and therefore people are having to travel again for this. Very much relying on the car, because there are no buses in rural areas on the whole. We're going where you want them to.
Well, exactly, and if we want more people to get involved with public transport, then you need to make public transport more appealing than having a car. And, you know, somewhere like Stoke, which has only got one bus a week into Bath or something ridiculous, you know, how is that facilitating more people using public transport? We need to move away from the system where everybody has got their own car, and the only way to do that is through improving public transport in rural areas. Even if it's just for things like doctor's surgeries, things like hospitals, things that enable people to get around North East Somerset more easily.
I mean, in North East Somerset, we have two stations at the moment. We have one in Freshford and the other one in Canteen, both on the edge of the constituency, very difficult for people to use. There are plans possibly to have an extra one in Salford, which would be lovely for the people in Salford, because they can then get into Bristol and Bath without having to use cars so often. There was the thought of another one at Barthampton, for example, and that again would be useful for people. The only problem with the one at Barthampton is that a lot of people link it to the Park and Ride scheme.
They do, yes, they do.
Which has its own set of issues
with
trying to encourage people onto public transport by using their cars, which is actually slightly
strange. So I think in a situation like that, we'd much prefer to have a train station. If you were going to have a park and rail, for example, we'd want a train station, but then you'd have to have a bus to that train station. So rather than, you know, building on all these greenbelt areas to effectively create a massive car park, it seems a bit counterintuitive. Whereas if we had a link from public transport in rural areas to that train station, then, well, you're killing two birds with one stone, really, aren't you?
Yes, I always used to like an advert they had for I think it was Network Rail, and they said, had local trains lead to national trains.
Oh,
and I thought that was a really nice idea.
I like
and
that.
You can have buses lead to local trains, which lead to national trains. And that we've got to try and sort of start to think in that integrated way, where we can get people mobile and able to visit these facilities.
Definitely.